Welcome in, everyone, to the Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. Great to be back. Great to have Chris back.
Yep, I know. It's been a while. Had a busy couple weeks, but I'm back.
Chris is back, but Logan is away this time. Hopefully next week we'll have everyone on. But it's actually worked out better that we had a show today, considering we are now exactly 100 days till the NFL kickoff 2022 season. So I know after the show I'm about to read, I don't like CBS Sports, but they put out 100 facts about the upcoming season. So I'm about to read that after the show. But we have a pretty packed show. We got USFL Week 7 games to recap. Got some news in the USFL and NFL, even one little NCAA centric nugget. And then we'll finish up continuing our 8th round with the NFC East today. Got my Eagles hat on. Shirt on for a bunch of Georgia players that were drafted by these teams. So starting off here on Saturday, we had once again 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday games. Saturday, the Generals going to 6-1, 2013 win over my Bandits. It's looking bleak now. Their chances of getting into the playoffs. They are now. Yeah, they are actually eliminated, I believe. Technically they're not. Technically they're not. They are.
There's 3 weeks left, right?
They are 3 games out, and actually I don't know how they would not be eliminated. Because I guess I'll just say this now since I'm already on the subject and it was in our USFL news. But the first tiebreaker for standings is head-to-head. And the Breakers, who are 3 games ahead of the Bandits, already beat them. Now, they do have another game coming up next week, week 9. So that could even it up. And if they even it up, then it would go to best win-loss percentage in games played within their division. So I don't have that handy because Fox Sports app does not have that information. But, that would be the next tiebreaker. If the Bandits could win out and the Breakers lose out, that would be the only way that the Bandits would be able to get into that second spot in the South Division. Strength to victory is the third one. Best net points in all games. And then best net touchdowns is the 5th tiebreaker. And the 6th is a coin toss. So yeah, like I said, very bleak chances of the Bandits making the playoffs. Needed this win to stay in the hunt, but more than likely the Breakers will clinch next weekend or this weekend. But anyways, yeah, Jordan Ta'amu had a tough day, 3 picks. Louis Perez didn't have to do much. He did enough though. And we've seen it all year with the Generals. Their ground attack, Darius Victor, very nice game for him. So yeah, that was really the story of this game. Kevontae Turpin scored again. He's had, I think, 3 touchdowns in 2 games now. So yeah,
I got a little bit of Jersey pride here with the Generals actually dominating the league right now. Like, it's fun to see a Jersey team, though there's not many actual Jersey teams in professional sports, but it's good to see a Jersey team actually dominating in a sport.
Yeah. We will talk about getting them actually to Jersey
Yeah.
in USFL news. But yeah, there were some great defensive performances in this game. Logan's Wisconsin Badger, Chris Orr, 10 tackles, 7 solos, and a tackle for loss for the Generals. But Anthony Butler led the way, 14 tackles, 8 of them solos, 2 tackles for loss. My defensive player of the game, though, is going to be Drayvon Askew Henry for the Generals, 8 tackles, 7 of them solo, 2 picks, and 3 pass deflections.
That's solid. The whole Jersey defense, though, I mean, Hines there got a sack. You already mentioned Askew Henry got the 2 picks. And then Luani got both. He got a sack and a pick. So,
yeah,
solid
so
play.
Luani's been very good for them. He has 4 picks, I think, on the year.
Nice.
The Generals covered -4, under 42.5 hit. And actually, this game came down to the wire. The Bandits got stopped on 4th and 10, I think it was, from the Jersey 11.
Wait.
4th and 7 from the Jersey 11. Yeah.
I just got to ask because the name is so similar, but is the receiver for Tampa Bay, do you know if he has any relation to the Eagles?
It's his son.
Yeah. It is? Okay.
Yeah, Vinny Papali is Vince Papali's son.
Okay.
Yep. And crazy enough, the reason the Bandits were stopped on 4th and 7 was Drayvon Askew Henry. One of his 3 pass deflections occurred on that play. To Vinny Papali, actually, the pass was going his way. Yeah, like I said, they covered under 42.5. The Breakers, who I just talked about, beat the Panthers 31-27 in the first ever overtime game USFL history. Unfortunately, I was too tired and I went to sleep and I did not watch the overtime. I would sleep about somewhere in the third quarter. But yeah, it was very interesting to see it then. It's a shootout, NHL shootout kind of format with 2-point conversions. So you start out with best of 3, and the Breakers got 2 out of 3. The Panthers got 0. 0 out of 2 because they didn't have to do the third one. But yeah, Breakers played 2 quarterbacks in this game. Zach Smith, who got the start? Let me see. I believe Zach Smith got the start, possibly. No, Kyle Sloter started. Okay. Not really sure why Zach Smith played. I think Sloter got dinged up a little bit during the game. But yeah, both quarterbacks were pretty good. 3 touchdowns combined. Josh Love, new quarterback for Michigan, was not that great. But Reggie Corbin is a guy that I think is definitely going to get a shot somewhere in the NFL. He's been lighting it up. He has 516 yards, 2 touchdowns this season through 7 games. So pretty decent there. 82 carries this season. Jordan Ellis has been good for New Orleans as well. But yeah, the running game was good for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think it was the passing game and the defense. The defense for New Orleans came up when it needed to with the 2 stops in overtime. So
well, it's kind of sad to see a team like the Panthers be 1-6. I don't know the full standings, but I assume that they're probably the worst team unless there's a winless team, but
they are tied for last.
Okay. But no, just one, at least to me, a noticeable absence on the stat sheet is a tight end for the Panthers named Ryan O'Malley. I've brought him up like last year or 2 years ago or whenever it was, because he's from my town, and he was an undrafted free agent in the NFL for a while. I think he played with the Raiders, the Bills, and the Giants at one point. But he had to quit because he had a heart condition that I guess he got cleared up, because now he's playing in the USFL here. So it's good to see him back on the field. But like I said, he's absent from the stat sheet here, so I don't know if he really made much of an impact, if at all.
Not this game. 1 catch for 10 yards. But Jonathan Adams scored again. He's been a great contributor for the Breakers. Defensively, there wasn't much going on. Ike Brown is my defensive player of the game. 4 tackles, 2 solos, and 3 pass deflections. And then you have to shout out to Cole Murphy, the longest field goal in USFL, 60 yards. He crushed one.
That's good for even NFL standards. So
yeah,
that'll get a few NFL teams' attention.
And he was 4 for 5, so not bad either. The Panthers.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you know off the top of your head what the miss was, but
I do not.
I wonder if it was a long shot or if it was just a bad kick or what.
It was 54.
Okay, so can't fault him too much for that. But.
The Panthers covered plus 5.5, over 41.5. Easy. Okay, Sunday, the undefeated and still undefeated Birmingham Stallions, 7-0 now, 26-16 win over the Maulers. Quarterback play was absolutely atrocious in this game. I mean, it really can't get much worse than these stats right here. The Pitt even went to its backup quarterback, Roland Rivers, who is an undrafted free agent from Slippery Rock. So we got some PSAC love there.
Yep.
But yeah, Bo Scarborough has been a revelation for Birmingham ever since he signed with them. I think week 4, 5. But yeah, 100 yards. I mean, the average is terrible. Bo Scarborough is essentially putting on a performance like Trent Richardson did for the Birmingham Iron in the AAF, because his average is not good, at least in this game. He's had some other good games where his average is good. But yeah, 100-yard performance for him. Madre London for Pittsburgh, 99 yards. He had a good average on his day. Touchdown for him. Bobby Holly scored on a 52-yard fake punt run. And then Mikey Daniel was the leading receiver for Pittsburgh as the fullback, 2 for 21.
I was wondering why you put him on there, because like 2 carries for 1 yard and 2 for 21 doesn't sound like a lot at all. But yeah. 21 yards was the leading receiver. Okay.
And your leading receiver is your fullback. That is
that too. Yeah.
Sad day. A lot of defensive stats in this game, though. My defensive player of the game is actually, I think I'm going to go on the losing side. Bryce Tornadin, safety for the Maulers, 7 tackles, 4 of them solos, a sack, tech floss, pick, and a pass deflection.
And I don't really want to go there with this, but at the same time, I kind of do. But of all the teams to be undefeated right now, it really has to be the actual home team. Like,
of course,
I'm not going to start it's scripted thing, but it makes you kind of think.
Yeah, I mean, of course it would be. Skip Holtz done a nice job there, and yeah, they have the They have the home field advantage every game. They have the most crowd, all the games every weekend. So, Willie Yarbury had a good game for the Stallions there. 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. And then the kickers were very good in this game. Brandon Aubrey, I mean, he's definitely the best kicker in the USFL. I mean, it's crazy to say that since he was not even a football player. Notre Dame soccer player, played in the MLS. But here he is, 4 for 4, 45 long, 2 for 2 extra points. And then the only reason I put Ramiz Ahmed on here is because just like Cole Murphy, he hit an abnormally long field goal of 58 yards in this game, 3 for 4 on the day. If he would have made his other one, a 1-score game.
Yeah.
And his miss was came with only 53 seconds left. So it really wasn't that big of a deal that he missed. His was also a 52-yarder.
I mean, it kind of was, though, because if they scored on that field goal, they could have had the chance to get the ball back with only a touchdown deficit and go and tie the game.
Yeah. And then we would have been able to see the first time 4th down conversion thing, I believe, is what they have in the USFL. The 4th and what did they make it? It's not like it's a weird yardage, I believe. I don't think it's like a 4th
even number.
Yeah, I don't think it's a 4th and 15. I think it's like a 4th and 12 or something like that. Maybe. I'm not really sure because I haven't seen it. So, but yeah. The Maulers, massive underdogs, and they covered though. Plus 12.5 in this game. Over 41.5 by the hook. Half point over in this game.
I mean, you've obviously been paying way more attention to this than I have, but it seems like the over-unders really haven't changed that much 7 weeks in. They're still relatively low 40s. I don't believe you said any in the 30s this week, but
yeah, I mean, but it was different. Early on, we were all under because teams were still getting acclimated and stuff. They only had 3 weeks to prepare for the season. And now we're seeing all these points scored. So we're hitting overs, even with the books setting the lines at 40s. Okay, last game on Sunday. Stars beating the Gamblers. 35-24 win for them. And it was a big win, just like the Bandits are in a tough situation to get in, being 3 games out from the Breakers. The Stars have now put themselves 3 games up on both the Panthers and the Maulers. So it looks like the Stars will be the second team to be in from the North Division and play the Generals in their playoff game. But yeah, Case Cookis struggled in the game. Again, though, we've seen it time and time this season. Quarterback struggles, but your team can still win if your running game is going well, and it was in this game for the Stars. Matt Colburn, Darnell Holland, both scoring. Colburn with 75 yards, also 14 yards on 4 receptions. Houston played 2 quarterbacks in this game. Clayton Thorson got dinged up again, I believe. Kenji Bahar was actually very good, despite 2 turnovers. Very good completion percentage, 10.1 per completion, and threw a touchdown. Wasn't enough, though, in a lopsided-ish game for Philly. Jordan Sewell, very good game for him. 7 catches, 72 yards, touchdown, caught all 7 of his targets. Brandon Barnes scored for the Gamblers. And I mean, I don't know who you want to pick. Go on the losing side or the winning side. I think I'm going to go on the winning side because Adam Rodriguez put in a masterful performance. 7 tackles, 6 solos, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. He had a forced fumble and a safety at the end of the game for the defensive end for Philly.
Well, was the forced fumble and safety in the same play, or?
No, I don't believe so.
Because I didn't know if he like knocked the ball out of the back of the end zone or whatever.
Yeah. No, he just tackled him in the end zone.
All right, so that makes it even better then. But yeah, Rodriguez is definitely the one that stood out to me on this stat sheet. But like you said, all 3 of those guys that are on there had pretty good days.
Got a shout out. Let me see where he is at. Also for Philly. Bug Howard, the tight end. He plays special teams some. You know, he had 2 catches for 9 yards on 4 targets, but he also blocked a punt in this game on special teams. So shout out to Bug Howard as well. But I mentioned Donald Payne being a contender for defensive player of the game just because, I mean, he has to have a shot at the NFL too. He has been racking tackles up left and right this season. Leading tackler once again for Houston. I believe these are his solo tackle numbers. 50 tackles, 2 picks, 2 sacks. But yeah, in this game, 9 tackles, 6 solos, tackle for loss, 2 picks, 2 pass deflections. Yeah, his 85 total tackles this season.
Through 7 games, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, he's more than likely he's going to hit 100 through 10 games.
Yeah, he needs 15 in 3 games. It's 5 per game. So,
you know, we see guys not get 100 tackles through 17 games. So yeah, he's been a tackling machine. And just like I said for Reggie Corbin, you know, he's on a 1-16, but still producing. So, and then had to put Luis Aguilar on here for Philly. They would not have won without him. 4 for 4 field goals and hit all 3 of his extra points as well. 41 long.
Wait, so I just want to clarify something too, because you kind of alluded to it when we were on this slide, but is Tampa Bay your team of choice here?
Yes.
That's the team you're going with as your favorite team in this?
Yes.
Okay. Because I just wasn't sure, because I know you're a Pennsylvania guy, so I wasn't sure if Pittsburgh or Philly, because obviously you're the fans of those NFL teams, and the Penguins for NHL. So I don't know. I thought you were going to lean towards one of your home state teams.
No, I just I picked the Bandits to win the championship preseason. Not gonna happen, but it's all right. I just loved the combination of Todd Haley and Jordan Ta'amu. I thought that was a good connection. But the Stars covered -4.5 and the over 43.5 easily. Okay, USFL news. So I kind of talked my way around this, but the Generals and Stallions did clinch their playoff berths with their wins this weekend. Generals 6-1, Stallions 7-0. It'll be interesting to see if the Stallions go 10-0 or not. Looking at what they have left, their 3 games, decently tough. I mean, their biggest challenge is going to be this weekend. They got to play the Breakers. So, and I don't think they've played. They did. They already beat them before.
Hmm.
They beat them 22-13.
Yeah.
And that is the only way that the Breakers can get the number 1 spot in the South is if they beat them and then they had the Stallions lose one more.
Yeah. Well, everybody's played everybody at this point, right? Because there's 8 teams, so 7 games. Yeah. So now it's back to the. I assume they're playing their own division again or whatever. Is it division or conference, whatever term it is?
It's division.
Okay.
I would have to think that everyone's playing the division. I mean, because the Stallions are. The Stallions go Breakers, Gamblers, Bandits.
Yeah. So, yeah, now they're back to playing those teams again. But yeah, so it seems like the Stallions beat every other team in the league, and the only team that the Generals lost to was the Stallions. So that's pretty solid football for those 2 teams.
Yeah, and I think at this point it's looking like a Generals Stallions championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's only 2
Breakers,
teams from each that make the playoffs, right?
Yeah. Like I said, the Breakers are definitely the biggest contender to knock the Stallions off in the last 3 games, anyways. And then obviously they're going to have to if they want to play in the championship game. But, it's hard to see the Stars beating the Generals in the Northern Division Championship playoff game, whatever they're calling it. I don't know what they're calling it. So
yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, that happened. I already said about the tie-breaking procedures, and then Fox Sports announced its plans for franchising the teams, actually selling the teams to have legit owners instead of what it is now, where Fox Sports just owns all 8 of the teams. So I kind of took 2 notes from that article that I read. One is the plan is to build the teams up in Birmingham and then sell them within the next 5 to 7 years. It could be earlier than that. I think I read, but more than likely we won't have these teams moving to their actual local markets until a few years down the line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the teams might not move, but I'm sure, like, if they do sell them out to other people or whatever, I'm sure that each team will have like some sort of like home base at their like supposed locations. Like, there'll probably be like a facility up here in New Jersey for the Generals, or out in Philly for the Stars, right? That's the Philly team. Yeah, so I mean, they'll probably do that, but they probably just won't be able to secure a field or something right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing where they're starting in one location and then expanding out each team's market. I don't know. We'll have to see what it looks like.
I mean, was there any like numbers or anything along with that news or that article or whatever you read? Because like, not saying that you or I could ever afford that, but like, it's definitely a lot cheaper than like any of the other, like an NFL team, obviously. So
yeah, no, I haven't. No, I didn't see any.
It might only be a couple $100,000. Again, I don't have that kind of money, but still.
Yeah, I think it'd be more than that. I think it would definitely be in the millions, just based off the broadcast deal that Fox Sports has in place right now. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be along the lines, if you're looking for a comparison. One just popped into my head, and I don't know if it's exact or not, but I would think, possibly you could look at what a WNBA team is worth, and maybe that would be close, if not less than WNBA teams are worth.
Yeah.
So I don't know though. The one NCAA news nugget I have is just kind of a thing, a random thing out there. But former UGA running back, Heisman Trophy winner, 1980 national champion, 1982 Heisman Trophy winner, Herschel Walker, he won Georgia's Republican Senate primary race. So he will be in the running for Georgia State Senator. Come whenever that is. I don't know when that is, when that election is, but yeah, he won the primary. So
nice.
The NFL news here, we got a bunch of it. There's been stuff going on. The NFL, they had the spring league meeting, owners meeting. So a bunch of stuff was talked about and released from that. But we're gonna start off with just a second tragic death off season. A guy in his 20s, former Vikings first round pick, corner Jeff Gladney, was killed in a car crash Monday morning. 25 years old. He had just signed with the Cardinals this offseason. After
he was primed for a big resurgence too, because their cornerback room isn't the best. So he definitely had a big opportunity there.
Yeah, and coming back off of the lawsuit that he had, getting cleared.
He just been proven innocent or whatever, right?
Yeah, he just got cleared of those charges, and then signed with the Cardinals in free agency. Yeah, I mean, it's like looking up, man. It was looking up, and I haven't heard anything about what actually happened.
No, I didn't hear like the details of the actual crash. I just know that there was a female passenger in his car that also was killed. So other than that, like I don't know anything about the other car or what exactly happened, but yeah, it was a 2-car crash. That's all I know.
Yeah, so we're waiting on details to surface from that.
Yeah, but like as you said too, like it's crazy that like what was that, maybe 2 months ago, maybe not even 2 months ago with Dwayne Haskins, and then going back almost a year now, probably. Yeah, it's got to be a year at this point with the whole Henry Ruggs thing. Obviously, he didn't die, but he was in a big crash that ended up killing somebody too, and now he's basically in jail for. I don't remember what the thing is. I'm assuming it was like the rest of his life or close to it.
Right.
But yeah, it's just crazy that 3 relatively similar things happen like that.
Yeah. Again, all guys in their 20s, you know. Very young, way too young. But like I said, the NFL owners meeting happened last week. Got some stuff from that, including the 2023 and 2024 NFL scouting combines will continue to stay in Indianapolis as it should. I know there were a lot of people that were pissed off because the NFL was talking about moving the combine, and at least for the next 2 seasons, it will stay in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I don't understand what the big deal is about moving the combine though, because that's a closed off event. Like there's no spectators for that, at least no fans. I know that like NFL teams, there's spectators like fans.
Fans can go, yeah.
Well,
or at least we used to be able to. A couple of years
maybe
ago.
it's just because the last 2 years with COVID, I just didn't notice it or I forgot. But still, like I don't know. The combine's cool and all, but to me, it's not nearly as big a deal as the draft. Like I definitely understand the draft being moved around to different cities, but I don't see why the combine really needs to be too.
Yeah, and I know I've been to the combine a couple of times. It's nice. It's like the biggest thing that everyone says is everything is right there. You know, the hotel is literally like a couple blocks from Lucas Oil. And then like the conference center where they have all their player interviews is attached to the hotel. So it's literally, Radio Row is right there as well. So it's a good location.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing coming out of the league meeting, the Rooney Rule. There was a change in the Rooney Rule. They have added the quarterback coach position to the Rooney Rule. So now to hire a new quarterback coach, you have to interview an outside diverse candidate. At least one.
I don't even really want to comment on that because I don't want to sound racist because I'm not. But like, I feel like they're making it racist by doing these kind of things. Like the best candidate should be interviewed, not because of their skin color.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough thing to figure out.
And like, I feel like we've had that discussion too before that like they literally only have to be interviewed. So the whole Brian Flores suit, he's just basically saying that he was only interviewed because of the Rooney Rule, not because he thought he was actually getting the job or anything. So that's creating that too. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like I said, it's tough to figure out how to fix it. But the NFL finally concluded its lawsuit with the city of St. Louis. So each team, the NFL is taking $7.5 million from each team to pay to the city of St. Louis for the move of the Rams to LA.
I don't understand that part, but okay. Like, why take away from all the teams if it was just the Rams and like the heads of the NFL, not the other organizations?
So initially, when Stan Kroenke said he wanted to move the Rams to LA, he said that he would pay for the lawsuit from St. Louis. He would pay the settlement for them. And then later on, he said, no, I said I was going to pay the legal fees, not the settlement. So the settlement ended up being $240 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. And I mean, obviously the rumors or whatever aren't true, but being a Jets fan, I've heard it a lot that St. Louis wants a team back and the Jets would be one of the top contenders to move there. And I don't want that to happen, but if it does, then oh well.
I think St. Louis is going to have a team back. I believe the XFL hasn't released its names and stuff, but I believe St. Louis is maybe back with their XFL team again.
I was talking just NFL though. Obviously XFL, yeah, but if I had the choice of an XFL or an NFL team, I'd want the NFL team, obviously.
Right, but there aren't any teams that are moving right now.
Convince the Jaguars to come up. They're going to London anyway, so.
No. There's only one team that has a stadium issue right now. That's the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
But they're already solving their issues by themselves.
Yeah.
By buying land. So The NFL announced some changes to its CBA. There is a new ramp up period starting this year for training camp. Days 2 through 5 of training camp, there can be no live contact in the first couple days of training camp, first week pretty much. So yeah, no tackling, anything like that, hitting. First week of training camp.
What was it usually? I can't remember.
They could have live contact, I believe, right off the bat. I
Oh,
think.
I mean, yeah, it's just a minor tweak that they're probably just trying to save injuries, whatever. But I don't really think a lot of injuries happen that first week of training camp anyway.
Yeah, I have it here. They changed it. Or no. Yeah. They changed some of the timing of the practices too. Those days. But I didn't want to read all of it. So also change for the CBA, the practice squad will change permanently to 16 players on the practice squad, including 6 veteran players allowed on each practice squad and 3 elevations for those veterans before they have to stay up or get released.
Okay. That's not bad. I mean, they're kind of treating the practice squad as almost like a minor league, but I get it.
I mean, the practice squad has always been players with 2 or less years of accrued NFL seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But now they can just have veterans with however many seasons on there. 6 of them. So, I mean, it's just about, creating extra opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was, they changed that from 14 to 16 players from last year. And then they changed it from 2 regular season games to 3 this year. Yeah, and they can play they can play as many postseason games though, and it won't affect their stats.
But you said it creates opportunities, but at the same time, I kind of feel like, I mean, it might create some opportunities for the younger guys, or I guess some veterans, but for other veterans, like, since they weren't allowed on a practice squad before, I feel like some veterans might have just stuck on the roster and the active roster because they couldn't go anywhere else. But now with the 6 spots, there's going to be some veterans that in past years, like I said, would have been playing in the games that are now going to be stuck on the practice squad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if teams prioritize keeping younger guys on the active roster and giving them more opportunities and keeping veteran players on the practice squad for injury's sake. This one. The free agent wide receiver Antonio Brown said he's not playing in 2022. Your take on that, Chris?
I mean, was there a chance he was anyway? I mean, that to me is just him trying to spin it as his own choice when it definitely wasn't his own choice to begin with.
No, none of the 32 teams will sign him.
No.
He's just got to go and play with T.O. and Johnny Manziel in the FCF.
Yeah.
Where apparently you can smoke a blunt right after you throw a touchdown.
Yeah, but didn't he get cut right after he did that?
I don't know.
I heard
it wasn't
that. Yeah.
Johnny Manziel, but it was his teammate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I think he got released because of that.
All right. The Steelers, they finally had their new GM, and it was who I said all along.
Mm-hmm.
Said that I wanted all along. From the first day that Kevin Colbert said he was retiring, I said Omar Khan, the guy, promote from within. And that's exactly what they did. Steelers hired VP of Football and Business Administration Omar Khan as their new GM. They also, I think this was a great move as well. They hired Eagles VP of Player Personnel Andy Weidel as their assistant GM too.
All right. But yeah, Omar Khan, I feel like he's coming into a unique situation because I feel like most GM openings are because it's a bad team or whatever. But the Steelers aren't a bad team. Yeah, there might be some growing pains this year and maybe even next year with Kenny Pickett or Trubisky if he plays this year, whatever. But I think Colbert definitely left Khan a pretty good squad to build with.
Yeah, and they're not rebuilding; they're in transition.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love it. And the Steelers and Eagles were kind of just like trading personnel people back and forth because the Eagles also hired Brandon Hunt from the Steelers because Brandon Hunt was in the GM pool for the Steelers. He didn't get it. So then the Eagles hired Brandon Hunt. I didn't hear what his title is with Philly, but it's a relatively high position with the Eagles.
Yeah.
So
no, and so I think we kind of had this conversation back when we were talking about the draft and like going into the draft. But how much say or input do you think that Khan actually had during the process and like round one picking Kenny Pickett? Like, do you think that was his choice or do you think that was Colbert's choice and Khan just kind of had to deal with it?
I think it was a joint. Yeah. I think Colbert wanted, obviously, for Khan, he wanted to make Colbert's last draft, as special as he could.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I mean, Khan didn't know, I don't think, at that point anyways, that he was actually going to get the job because they were coming, they had second interviews after the draft with a couple of other people. So I don't think he necessarily knew that. So I think it was just business as usual.
All right.
Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, he is free of all his charges in his lawsuit. So he's good to go.
Yeah, you paused there when you said free, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I thought you meant like he got released or something.
No,
I was like, they'd really do that to Russell Wilson, right?
Judge dismissed all charges in Jerry Jeudy's case. I forgot to look this up because I had never heard of what the actual injury was. But Falcons head coach Arthur Smith announced linebacker Dion Jones is out for the season. So I have no clue what actually happened. Or is it just off season? Okay, so all of these things that I'm seeing are off season. He's missing the off season programs. But the tweet that I had said season.
Wait, but didn't they release him? I thought they released him.
No. Will miss the remainder of the team's off-season workout program, shoulder surgery. That was on Thursday that this article came out on ESPN. But they did draft Troy Anderson. They signed Rashawn Evans from the Titans and Nick Kwiatkowski from the Raiders, I believe. They also have Michael Walker, who they drafted 2 years ago, maybe 3. So, yeah.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
no. I'm just reading the article that I saw, and it was he's one of the biggest names to watch for the June 1st cut deadline or whatever. But now with the injury, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it depends, obviously, what his contract says, whether he's injury guaranteed or not. Okay, we got some signings. First one is the dumbest freaking move. This is the second. This is dumb part 2 for the Browns. Dumb part 1 was they franchised tight end David Njoku. Dumb part 2 is they signed him to a long-term extension. 4 years, $56.75 million, $28 million guaranteed. He's now the 5th highest paid tight end in the NFL. I don't understand. They didn't re-sign Austin Hooper, but they still had Harrison Bryant, who they drafted 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never been a big fan of Njoku either. He definitely didn't live up to his first round hype, at least not in my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people share that sentiment too, but he definitely, I don't think he's worth that $56 million. But the Browns are back to being the Browns. Yes, they traded for Deshaun Watson, and if he plays, that's fine. But the Texans had Deshaun Watson for all those years, and they made the playoffs a couple times, but they didn't really make a big splash in the playoffs. So that was because they had a lot of stuff tied down to him and other players, and also because Bill O'Brien doesn't know how to trade players or draft or anything. But that's beside the point. The Browns, though, they're now tied down with almost $300 million, if not over $300 million. I forget exactly how much they paid Deshaun Watson. I think it was like $230 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like $280 million between those two players alone. And
they're still on the books for $18 million right now from Baker.
So I don't know. The Browns don't seem to know exactly what they want to do, but there's so many other better players on that offense and on the team in general, but on the offense, because we're talking offense, like I would have saved up the money and paid my 2-star running backs, not huge money, but like maybe try to divide that $56 million or whatever between the two of them.
You could extend Nick Chubb on a 3-year, $27 million deal.
I know, but still, I would not have paid Njoku $56 million, no matter how long. I wouldn't have done it for 56 years or whatever.
The only way that I can see this possibly working out is what they kind of mentioned whenever I was reading the tweets about this. They don't really have a lot of receiver depth behind Amari Cooper. They drafted David Bell, which I think was a great pick, but Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz, Jakeem Grant are the top 5. So what if they move Njoku, who is 6'4", 246 outside. And they
Yeah.
leave Harrison Bryant at tight end. I mean, they don't have much tight end depth either, but
I mean, I don't know. I still don't like the move because I don't like Njoku as a player. Yeah, tight end and wide receiver are different, but like we've seen it before. I think more so the other way, and I don't think it's really worked out too well for other teams. Like with one of your former players there, with Calvin Benjamin, he tried to make the transition to tight end, and that didn't work out for him. And I think there was a couple other players too that did it, but yeah, there hasn't really been a successful switch from tight end to wide receiver or vice versa. So we'll see if they do that and if it works, but I don't know.
yeah, I think that would be the only way. And I think they were, if you try to reconcile why they did it, I think they're just thinking that Deshaun Watson will make Njoku better.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever. But free agency though, the biggest one happened today. In between shows, the Bucks got a massive filled a massive hole in their defense. Signing Bears defensive tackle Akeem Hicks, 1 year, $10 million. Signaling Ndamukong Suh's time in Tampa is more than likely done. So yeah, that's a massive get for Jason Light and the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, Suh was obviously a great player in his prime, and even the last couple of years with Tampa. I mean, I don't know the age difference between those two or anything, but I think Hicks is younger, even if it is only a couple of years. But yeah, he's proven himself to be a pretty good commodity with all those years in Chicago. And yeah, I think there's a good move for them.
Hicks is 3 years younger.
Yeah, so
Suh is 35. Hicks will turn 33 in November. So
yeah.
2 years.
So I mean, I know it was no secret that Suh wanted to return to Tampa Bay because he, I believe, tweeted out a little while ago saying something along the lines of that defense looks great. It's just missing one player or something like that. And obviously they must have thought that missing player was Hicks and not Suh. But now that opens up the question about Suh. Like, I don't think he's going to just go anywhere. I think he wants to go to a contending team. But is there any contending teams that might need a defensive tackle? Obviously, there's all those rumors and rumblings with the Rams with Donald, but who knows?
I mean, why not go back to LA for Suh? Only played
Did he
there.
play in LA though, or was it before they moved?
Yeah, he played in LA.
Okay.
I mean, he only played there one season?
One or two. Wasn't very long.
Yeah, 1 year, 2018. But I mean, Suh has been he's only missed 2 games in his career. He's been healthy as can be. His pass rush has taken a little bit of a hit the last couple of years, but he still had 6 sacks each of the last 2 seasons. Pretty decent numbers from a defensive tackle.
Yeah. But I mean, like you said though, his production is kind of diminished. And I mean, he is 35, and despite him only missing 2 games, I feel like the older you get, the more likely you are to get injured. So to me, it just doesn't seem like it's in his nature though to take a lesser role and be like a rotational guy or be like the backup not tight end. He might want to do that, but no, be the backup defensive tackle in in any situation. He might do like the 1A, 1B thing when they're both on the field at the same time, but he wouldn't. I don't think he'd go to a team where he'd have to be the backup and not play all the time.
I'm not saying this would happen, but this team just popped into my head. And I don't even know if I would consider them a Super Bowl contender because they got a lot of question marks, especially on offense. But the San Francisco 49ers, they don't really have a need with Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw. They don't have a lot of depth at defensive tackle. They did sign Hassan Ridgeway this offseason and Maurice Hurst. But, yeah, I mean,
they survived last year, obviously making it to the championship game, but was it the year before where they had all those injuries and that kind of derailed their entire season? So, yeah, having a guy like that in their pocket would probably benefit them a lot.
And I haven't really noticed Kinlaw living up to his first round pedigree.
Nope.
Either so far. So, but anyways, more signings here. The Ravens, couple of signings. They signed Broncos corner Kyle Fuller to a 1-year deal. They also got some backup quarterback depth, signing Cardinals quarterback Brett Hundley. Just trying to make sure he was with the Cardinals last year.
I believe so. So is that 3 or 4 quarterbacks on their roster now?
I'd have to look.
Because I know they obviously have Jackson and they have
No, he was at the Colts last year. That's right.
Oh.
Colts. Yeah, because they have 4. They have so they have Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley, and now Brett Hundley. And they also signed undrafted Anthony Brown as well out of Oregon.
Yeah. So you got to think that Hundley would be more of a just like a training camp arm to take some of the reps. Because based on what we saw last year from Huntley, I think he's got a secure spot as the backup there.
Yeah. Unless they keep 3.
Well, yeah.
Considering Lamar's gotten dinged up a couple times. So I'm holding on to Huntley though. In one of my actually in 2 of my 3 dynasty leagues. I have held on to him just in case he was getting traded this year. He was exclusive rights free agent. Or restricted, I don't remember which one. But I'm hoping that he gets traded or that Lamar either gets hurt or doesn't get re-signed to an extension, and then Huntley kind of just takes it.
Yeah. But going back to the other signing that you had mentioned, because we kind of just glossed over it, that secondary for the Ravens is just insane now. Like it was before, but adding a guy like Fuller to the already crazy back or secondary that they have, that I'll be surprised if that secondary is at least not top 3 in the league.
Yeah. Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Jalen Armour Davis, who they drafted. They have Kevon Seymour, Iman Marshall at corner. And then safety is just crazy. Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, Chuck Clark, Brandon Stevens, Geno Stone, Tony Jefferson. They haven't put Kyle Fuller on here yet. They did.
But he'd probably be third cornerback, I'd assume.
They did put Brett Hundley on here. They didn't put Kyle Fuller though. The Colts, they signed a former Raven. Ravens running back Tyson Williams of star 3 games last year. Started was a fantasy superstar for a couple months.
Yeah, I had picked him up like in that after like that second game that he went off, and then he didn't really do anything for me the rest of the season. So, but I don't see him really catching on with the Colts either. I don't think he's gonna really get that much playing time. I mean, I know they lost a couple guys, but with the emergence of Jonathan Taylor last year, he's obviously the workhorse number one, going to get most of the carries, and they're not really going to go with as much of a committee that they have in the past. So,
yeah, they got a pretty good backfield now. Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines, who is another stupid contract. Philip Lindsay, who they signed, and Tyson Williams now. So that's your 4.
Yeah, the Lindsay signing was also really weird to me, but
well, he fills the Marlon Mack role. He's the RB2 runner, and Naheem Hines is your third down pass catcher. And then Tyson Williams will be a third down spot guy and a special teamer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice for Tyson to find a home after getting his exclusive rights free agent tender revoked from Baltimore. So nice for him to land on his feet in Indy.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons, they also signed a running back, Titans running back Jeremy McNichols. So to see where he fits in their depth chart.
Well, they got Cordarrelle Patterson. I know that.
Right. He's listed as 4th right now. Cordarrelle Patterson, they signed Damian Williams in free agency as well. And then they drafted Tyler Algier. So Jeremy McNichols slots in 4th.
Not bad for him.
The Texans, all these teams are signing each other's players because the Texans, they signed Falcons corner Fabian Moreau to add to their secondary. So their corner room now looks like Derek Stingley, Steven Nelson, Desmond King, Fabian Moreau, Tavir Thomas. They also have Isaac Yiadom, Traymon Smith, and Kendall Sheffield as well. Another former Falcon, Kendall Sheffield. So, yeah, I think it's pretty good. Pretty good corner room for the Texans, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Moreau didn't do much with the Falcons last year, but he was decent as a third-round pick for the Commanders a couple years ago. And one of the biggest storylines of last week, the Raiders are taking a chance. They worked out free agent quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, I mean, Mark Davis said, I believe it was 2017, he said, Colin Kaepernick deserves a spot in this league. And it took him till 5 years later to actually give him a workout. But couple connections here, or one connection with the Raiders and Colin Kaepernick. Their new offensive coordinator, Mick Lombardi, was an assistant with the Niners while Colin Kaepernick was there. So that is a connection. So he is a familiar face. Anyways, but no deal is imminent. They are looking for a upgrade to their backup quarterback spot. They signed Nick Mullins in free agency. They also traded for Jarrett Stidham, and they signed Chase Garbers in undrafted free agency. So it's tough.
So they're going to need another backup probably, but I mean, Mullins is decent backup. He's been a backup for most of his career, so he didn't really get the. I mean, he's had the chance to start and didn't really work out for him, but I think he's a solid backup. But yeah, I'd be worried about Kaepernick, not because of all the off-field stuff or whatever, but because he hasn't played the game of football, at least at the NFL level, in what's it got to be, like 6 years at this point now, maybe even longer.
Last play in 2016. Yeah.
Yeah, so 6 years. So I don't like. Obviously, you're not signing him to be your starter, but still, I don't know how much football he actually has in him after being away from the game for 6 years.
I mean, he's turning 35 in November. So age is a deal too. But he doesn't have the tread on him. And I mean, his workouts have looked good. His workout at Michigan looked good. His couple workouts that he live streamed looked pretty decent. And apparently he looked very good when he worked out for the Raiders too. They are just not looking to sign him right now. Maybe closer to training camp, they will look back into it. But I mean, he's gotten flyers over the years. The Seahawks with Pete Carroll were rumored to look at him. John Harbaugh and the Ravens. But
I don't know why the Seahawks. That's a team I could see him going to because their quarterback room really does need somebody. They got Drew Lock and Geno Smith.
Do they need someone though?
Geno Smith is definitely not the answer. Or Drew Lock if Geno wins a starting job. I don't think either one of those.
Why not? Why not just go with that and then you get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud next year?
Well, yeah, that is true. But I don't know. I feel like having a veteran guy like Colin Kaepernick with his skill set, if he still can play, obviously he's not going to be able to play the way he could when he was like under 30, but I think that his skill set definitely is still better, at least than Drew Lock.
You know what's crazy? I did not know he was born in Milwaukee. He's from Milwaukee, apparently. From Milwaukee, went to Nevada. But last thing here, another workout. The Vikings worked out their wide receiver, Dede Westbrook. He was with them last year at the very least. I don't know if he was with them for more than that.
I don't think so.
No, he was just with them last year. So might look to re-sign him there in Minnesota. Good special teams player. And fourth wide receiver, because the Vikings are another team that I don't think they don't have great wide receiver depth. If you believe in some of their guys, they do.
I mean, they got a good one too, but
yeah, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne had a career year last year. Emir Smith-Marset, who they drafted last year. They have BC Johnson, who is an undrafted free agent. They drafted Jalen Naylor in the 6th round this year. I believe it was 6th, maybe it was 7. 6th this year. Then there's a bunch of other stuff. Hey, they got, you know what? You know who they do have, though? Who they signed as an undrafted free agent? My guy, Thomas Hennigan, at Appalachian State, undrafted free agent wide receiver. Anyways, that is the NFL news. I I don't see anything else on the Twitter feed. So let's move on to our NFC East draft recap. Here are the first round picks for the NFC East. You had at 5 overall and wearing number 5. Edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon. 7th overall, the Giants went offensive tackle Evan Neal out of Alabama. The Eagles were the next team to pick in the first. They traded up a couple spots, 3 spots to get to 13th overall and draft defensive tackle Jordan Davis out of Georgia. And the Commanders at 16th overall, they drafted wide receiver Jahan Dotson out of Penn State. And then the Cowboys rounding it out at 24th overall, drafting offensive tackle Tyler Smith out of Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start with the Giants. Like I said, Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal in the first. Then in the second round, they went wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, Kentucky, number 43. Round 3, they had 2 picks. Guard Joshua Ezeudu, North Carolina, number 67. Corner Cordell Flott, LSU, number 81. 4th round, another 2 picks. Tight end Daniel Bellinger, San Diego State, number 112. Safety Dane Belton out of Iowa, number 114. 5th round, they had 3 picks there. Linebacker Micah McFadden out of Indiana. That was number 146. D-tackle DJ Davidson, Arizona State, number 147. Guard Marcus McKeithen, North Carolina, number 173. And their last pick in the 6th round, linebacker Darian Beavers, Cincinnati, number 182. They did not have a 7th round pick. So you are in the Giants' neck of the woods. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, how many total picks was that in the draft for them?
11.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot. I mean, for quantity, yeah, they got 11 guys that have a chance to contribute here. I mean, I still remember draft night going into it. I was among the group that expected them to go with the offensive lineman first.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you were too. But obviously they went and got Thibodeau, and they were okay with settling for whoever the Panthers didn't pick. Maybe Neal was their guy all along. We'll never really know for sure. But they clearly felt strong enough to let the Panthers choose between Neal and why am I blanking on the other guy right now?
Ike Ekwonu.
Yeah, Ekwonu. They clearly felt comfortable enough to take whoever the Panthers didn't. Obviously, at one point, Thibodeau was viewed as the best player in the entire draft. He kind of fell from grace a little bit. And, I mean, if he turns out to be what people originally thought about him, then that's almost a steal for the Giants for him to fall to them at 5.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I didn't like the Giants draft as a whole. And I didn't really hear much about the Giants draft from people I know that are Giants fans. Outside of these 2 picks, I didn't really hear much. I don't know if it's that they didn't really know about the other players or they didn't really care about the other players because the top of the draft was just so good for the Giants fans. But the only other player that I really liked was Beavers their last pick all the way in the 6th round.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, the guys in between were kind of just whatever to me.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot too in the 6th. But yeah, I mean, ESPN has them with 4 starters out of this draft class. Obviously, Thibodeau at one of the outside linebacker spots, Evan Neal at right tackle. Then the 2 that you might not think would be starters out of this draft. They have Cordell Flott as one of the 2 starting corners opposite of Adoree Jackson. With the James Bradbury release, there was a spot open. Does he fill it? I mean, they have some other guys there that could. Rodarius Williams, Darnay Holmes, Aaron Robinson as well. So there are guys there. And then they also have as a starter at left guard Joshua Azudu, their other third round pick. So I didn't know too much about. They drafted 2 North Carolina guards. I didn't know much about either of them. But I don't know if he's going to start or not. They have other guys there. Shane Lemieux, Max Garcia, Ben Bredesen in the inside, as well as Nick Gates, who started at center for them a little bit. But, the 2 top picks were very good. The Wan'Dale Robinson selection was weird, to say the least, in the second round. When you look at who went after him that they could have had still at wide receiver, I mean, even the next pick, John Mechie, went after Wan'Dale Robinson. Other receivers, we had George Pickens at 52. Went Alec Pierce at 53, Sky Moore at 54. Those were all guys in the rest of round 2.
Yeah.
At least that they could have gotten.
Pickens and Moore were definitely the 2 that stood out to me the most as to why they fell so far. I mean, it definitely seems like it benefited the 2 of them, though, going to Pittsburgh and Kansas City. But I definitely would have rather had one of those 2 guys here. But
yeah, and my thing was like, okay, so you draft a receiver, but why Wan'Dale Robinson? Because they already had guys that can do the stuff that Wan'Dale Robinson can do. Kadarius Toney is essentially Wan'Dale Robinson already. He's a smaller slot guy that, 6 foot 193. Wan'Dale Robinson's even smaller. Wan'Dale 5'11", 185. So I think they have a height issue at the receiver position for the Giants. Kenny Golladay obviously is big, 6'4", but Sterling Shepard's under 6 foot. So is Wan'Dale Robinson. I believe Darius Slayton 6'1", so not that big. They signed Richie James. He, I believe, is not that tall. I think 5'9". I mean, where are they gonna? Kenny Golladay is their only jump ball guy. They did sign Colin Johnson, who is their biggest receiver, 6'6". But I mean, he's listed as wide receiver 8 right now. So, I mean, if you're looking at matchups, I mean, the Giants are hoping that they can win with quickness and speed because they're not going to win the physicality matchup outside of Kenny Golladay. And I think with the smaller bodies, we saw it last year. We've seen it throughout Sterling Shepard's career. We saw it last year with Kadarius Toney. The injuries with smaller guys, especially at the wide receiver position, are more prevalent than the bigger dudes.
And I mean, obviously it happened after the draft and all that, but the release of Bradbury and him signing to the Eagles just makes this pick even more questionable.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't draft a corner. They drafted, or no, they did, Cordell Flott, but he also, where did he go? 81. What other corners went? I mean, all you got to do is look 3 picks later. Marcus Jones was there. Now, Marcus Jones isn't an outside corner. But they could have put Rodarius Williams outside and got Marcus Jones as their slot corner. Other corners that went, that's a safety. No other corners went in round 3. Kobe Bryant went to the Seahawks at 109.
Yep.
I mean, that would have been, I thought, a lot better pick than Flott. Damari Mathis, Caleb Evans, Jalen Armour Davis, Jack Jones. So yeah, I'll stick with Kobe Bryant as the guy that I would rather have.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, so Daniel Bellinger, I mean, I was shocked that they didn't take a tight end. They did take a tight end. Bellinger wasn't that productive at San Diego State. He's more of a blocker than a pass catcher. They have almost nothing at tight end. Ricky Seals-Jones is their starter after Evan Ingram went away in free agency. They signed Jordan Akins and Daniel Bellinger. That's it. What they got?
Yeah, it's I'm sure that they'll pick up another one with the training camp cuts or something, because they definitely can't go into the season with that trio.
And Dane Belton, I don't even know if Dane Belton makes the roster. He might. He probably will. But they signed Yusuf Corker as an undrafted free agent, who I think was a better player than Dane Belton was. I like the Micah McFadden. The two linebackers they drafted, McFadden and Beavers, I really like. They got a lot of players to get through to get to the starting spot. Blake Martinez more than likely not going to be there long term. And Tate Crowder was Mr. Irrelevant 2 years ago. So it's a good find for them. But yeah, all in all, I don't think it was that great. We don't have Logan here to give us his draft grade, but I don't know. Like I said, you're in the Giants area.
Yeah.
You put it at.
I mean, like I said, the Giants fans that I've talked to or listened to, they haven't had much to say after the first round, except for the conversation we just had about the wide receivers. But yeah, obviously these players haven't even played a snap yet, but the draft as a whole, the draft class as a whole, I don't like, but I do think that as long as these two guys on the screen are successful and work out, I don't think it'll matter for the rest of the draft class. So if they are as successful as people think they can be, I think that this could possibly be like a 7.5, 8 out of 10 draft class.
Letter grade.
So that would be a C plus B minus right now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking C plus for the Giants. Okay, let's move on to your 2022 NFC East champion, Philadelphia Eagles. They had a good draft. They only had 5 picks at the end of it, but
they made them count.
You have to factor in the AJ Brown trade as well, and the fact that they traded and got another first-round pick next year from the Saints. So again, I will say it: Howie Roseman is the best GM in the NFL. Give him the award now. But first round, Jordan Davis, number 13 overall to Georgia. Second round, center Cam Jurgens, Nebraska, number 51. Third round, linebacker Nakobe Dean, Georgia, number 83. Didn't have a fourth, didn't have a fifth. Sixth, linebacker Kyron Johnson, Kansas, number 181. And then tight end Grant Calcaterra, SMU, number 198. and did not have a 7th round selection. So, they have one starter. No. Zero starters right now from this draft class. But it's a big but. They got AJ Brown. So I think that has to factor in when we go to grade it at the end. But loved Jordan Davis. They needed to get younger, and they needed depth at defensive tackle. I think they hit on Milton Williams last year in the 3rd round at Louisiana Tech. He played a nice role last year when Fletcher Cox got injured. But Fletcher Cox, more than likely, this might be his last season. So I think Jordan Davis is going to learn under him and Javon Hargrave. And then next year, we're going to see Jordan Davis really take an expanded role. But I think he's going to have a good, solid role this year anyways in a rotation on the defensive line. Cam Jurgens was picked by Jason Kelce, essentially. That's what Kelce said anyways. He said he liked him. He gave Howie Roseman his thoughts and how he liked the film. So Cam Jurgens is essentially going to be their starting center in 2023 and beyond. Kelce retires. And then, the steal of draft, I think. Nakobe Dean at 83 was just crazy value.
Oh, yeah.
And for the Eagles, we know Howie Roseman doesn't invest high draft picks in off-ball linebackers. But to get him at 83, Howie couldn't pass it up. So he got him, and I don't see how he's not a starter week 1. They did sign Kaiser White. They have TJ Edwards. They drafted Davion Taylor and Sean Bradley in the last couple of drafts. But Nakobe Dean's a game wrecker. He's smaller. He's only 5'10". But, he was the unquestioned leader on the national championship team.
I forget, though, is his injury going to keep him off the field at all during the season? No? Okay.
He's not getting surgery on his pec. So
okay.
I think they're gonna take it light throughout the off season. Gradually ramp him up in training camp, and then I don't even know if we see him in preseason or not.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, that's what I was thinking though about the whole injury thing. Like whether he could play or not, they're probably just going to ease him into the whole thing, and that's probably why he's not listed as a starter right now. But as long as the injury holds up and like he doesn't get hurt again or whatever, yeah, I definitely see him being a starter before the season's over.
He never missed a game at Georgia, so he can play through it if he needs to. And we never saw his production decrease either. So loved that. I didn't really like the day 3 for Howie. Kyron Johnson, Grant Calcaterra, that's all that was on day 3. He traded up to get Kyron Johnson. I was pissed off because he traded up to the pick right after the Bills.
Oh, yeah.
Bills drafted what's his face? The punt god.
Yeah. Ariza?
Matt Ariza, that's right. And that was an area I thought the Eagles needed to address this offseason. Aaron Sipos, you are not that guy.
Maybe they're just planning to not punt the whole season.
Maybe, but it's one of the biggest weaknesses on the Eagles roster is the punter.
That's not a bad thing though. That's one of your major weaknesses.
Chris, You have seen bad punting in your days as a Jets fan.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, like, there's worse things to be deficient in.
Right. But I think, also they got James Bradbury in post-draft free agency as well. That filled a massive need. So, I mean.
And it was stealing him from a division rival, too, like I mentioned with the Giants. So that just made them even better and the Giants worse. So,
yeah. But, yeah, I mean, with only 5 picks, ending up with only 5 picks, I thought it was pretty good. And like I said, no starters right now, but I could see the first 3 guys being starters.
Yeah.
Especially when we look at 2023 and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I basically have the same feelings towards the Eagles draft as you. The first 3 picks, good, especially the Dean one. I don't want to spend too much time on that because I feel like that's the pick that everybody talks about with the Eagles. You mentioned the AJ Brown trade, which it's not necessarily a draft pick, but if they didn't trade for him, they probably would have went and drafted a guy like Burks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's essentially the same thing. But yeah, I do like the early part of the Eagles draft. Like you said, technically no starters right now, but both Juergens and Davis are going to learn behind 2 of the best at their position. So even if they don't make an impact this year, especially Juergens, I think Davis will make a little bit of an impact, but Juergens probably won't see much of the field this year. But I think that 2023 and beyond, this draft class will definitely make a big impact. Like I said, especially those top 3 picks. And again, if you want to throw AJ Brown in there as a draft pick, then yeah, he's obviously going to make a big impact. It's going to kind of hurt my fantasy because I have Devontae Smith in our dynasty league, but I don't know. Maybe AJ Brown actually helps him. Who knows?
And I have AJ Brown. But again, I think we keep talking about 2023, but 2023 is going to be even better for the Eagles if Jalen Hurts works.
Uh-huh.
If he works, then they don't have to spend one of their 2 first-round picks on a quarterback next year. They can go and build even more around Jalen Hurts and, the rest of their defense and whatnot. They can go and get, what I see that they still need. Obviously, this is going to be totally different when we look at it after the season. But what I still think they need is a legit left tackle. They signed Jordan Mailata to be the guy. So they might kind of be stuck in that contract as of now. But they need that. They need more pass rush help. Brandon Graham is old. Derek Barnett is so. He got re-signed on a short-term small deal. But and they need safety help. They need safety help as well, and punter. So yeah, I think it's a good roster, and Howie Roseman is great. And the Grant Calcaterra draft pick I think was also pretty good. Now they like tight ends behind Dallas Goedert, Jack Stoll, undrafted free agent, and Tyree Jackson, who had some injury issues, broken back last year. He will return as well. So I think they like those guys, but Grant Calcaterra, I have no issue with that draft pick either. Oh, what is this from ESPN? Deshaun Watson facing 23rd active civil lawsuit over alleged inappropriate sexual conduct. So there are now 23 allegations. Also, before we grade the Eagles draft, the Cardinals, they are signing Chiefs running back Darrell Williams to a 1-year deal and releasing Jalen Samuels.
Okay.
But Eagles draft. When you factor in the AJ Brown trade, which I think we did factor in the Tyreek Hill trade for the Dolphins. So I think we got to do that for the Eagles as well. Factoring in that trade, I mean, at the worst, I think an A-.
Yeah, I mean, see, I'm not as high on the draft. Like I said, I think they have a lot of potential, but I think that they're about a B right now.
With AJ Brown included in that?
Without AJ Brown, I think they're like a C. So he brings them up an entire letter grade. I just think that right now they're a B only because you already mentioned it. They technically don't have a starter coming out of this draft class right now.
Instant impact. All right. I got you.
And also, we already mentioned it too. They only have 5 legit draft picks in this draft. So there's not as much chance for success with this draft class. Yeah, those top 3 guys are presumably going to be big impact players, but again, not right now. If they work out though, I definitely would change my grade up to like an A- or an A, depending on how they work out. But yeah, right now I gotta do a B because they're not instant impact guys.
Yeah, I was disappointed that you weren't on here for the Jets.
I know. I wish I could have made it on, but
I would have liked to hear your A+ rating for the Jets.
I wouldn't have given them an A+, maybe an A or A-. But
Anyways, let's move on to the Washington Commanders here. Their first round pick, 16th overall wide receiver, Jahan Dotson, out of Penn State. Second round, they went D tackle Fidarian Mathis, Alabama, number 47. Third round, running back Ryan Robinson, Alabama, number 98. Fourth round, safety Percy Butler, Louisiana, number 113. Fifth round, they had 2 picks. Quarterback Sam Howell, North Carolina, number 144. And tight end Cole Turner, Nevada, number 149. No sixth round picks. And then 2 sevenths. Guard Chris Paul, Tulsa, number 230. And corner Christian Holmes, Oklahoma State, number 240. Chris, you have the floor.
Yeah, I had very mixed feelings about this draft class. Starting off with their number 1 guy there, with Jahan Dotson. I didn't know as much about him as I presume you do, being that he's a Penn State guy. But I just didn't like the pick when it initially happened because I just thought that, fine, they want to go. It's kind of the same thing with the Giants. They wanted to go receiver. Well, I thought that there was a lot better receivers out there than Dotson. Maybe not at that specific pick, but if they waited till their second round pick, I think they could have gotten one of those other guys who I believe is going to be better than Dotson. So yeah, I didn't really like that pick. But then their second round pick, yes, it's not a first rounder, so it kind of breaks that trend of them spending first round picks on the defensive line, but they still have an obsession with picking defensive linemen early in the draft. I didn't really like that pick just based on the position. Like, I like the player, just not the place he went, because that defensive line's crowded as it is. And then my favorite pick of their entire draft, though, was the heir apparent to the quarterback position, Sam Howell out of UNC. He was one of my favorites coming into the draft, and I was surprised to see him still there in the 5th round when they finally took him with, was it the first pick in the 5th, I think? Or it was an early 5th round pick, I know that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, obviously he's going to sit behind Wentz for the year or 2 or however long it's going to be. But I think that they finally actually have a legitimate young guy that they can build around with Howell.
Yeah, so kind of like the Eagles, the ESPN has 1 starter. out of this draft class. That is Jahan Dotson. The issue that I have, like you mentioned, it's very similar to the Giants, except just a round earlier. The Commanders are in the same spot. They have zero height and size at the wide receiver position. McLaurin, Samuel, Dotson, De'Ami Brown, Dax Milne, all 6 foot and under. There only one receiver in their top 6 right now is Cam Sims, and he's massive, 6'5".
Jeez.
But I mean, like, they have other guys, Antonio Gandy Golden, Kelvin Harmon, who are bigger, 6'4", 6'2". But again, those guys aren't guaranteed they're going to make the roster. So, I mean, Cam Sims is your real only guy, and he's not even a starter. So I have no clue how they're going to match up with teams that have bigger corners. Yeah, it didn't make sense. That team fit when you look at Traylon Burks went 2 picks later to the Titans. Yeah, the Fidarian Mathis thing, I mean, there were other players you could have got. Like you said, at what was that, 47? You know, how about the pick after 48? The Bears got Jaquan Brisker. They could have got corner help. The Saints got Alontae Taylor at 49. You know, what else did they need? You know, Pickens went at 52, Pierce 53, Sky Moore 54. They could have got a massive upgrade. Now they do have Logan Thomas still, but we know he gets injured every year. Trey McBride went 55. So yeah, I think there's a lot of other options they could have went than Fidarian Mathis. Granted, they did need depth. They really don't have much in terms of depth on the defensive line right now.
Yeah.
So it's tough. You got Chase Young coming back from the ACL. So that is another factor. But yeah, the Brian Robinson selection, I liked it. They needed a legit RB2. They re-signed JD McKissick, but as we know, he's not a runner. He's a pass catcher. So I think that was a good selection. I didn't know too much about Percy Butler. He slides in as their third safety. And Sam Howell, you said the heir apparent, but taking him in the 5th round relieves the pressure on the franchise. Because he doesn't, and on Sam, because he doesn't have to be the guy. A 5th round, you know, it might work out, it might not. You know, it doesn't have to work out though. If they would have drafted him in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd rounds, then it's like, oh, you know, he has to work out. You know, it's a high priority selection. But drafting him in the 5th, it was very good value for them, and a guy that needs some work, and he'll get that work and development behind Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke the next year or two. So, and I think it relieves the pressure on Carson Wentz that they didn't pick a quarterback that early. As we know, Carson struggles with legit contenders for his spot. So he has his insecurity issues. Carson Wentz does.
No, but there was a couple things that I just I mean, I kind of said about the Jahan Dotson thing, but I don't remember if it was in our podcast mock draft that we did, or if it was just my own personal one, or both. But I think safety was a huge need for them, and I would have gone with Hamilton in that 1st round if I were them, because he was still on the board for them, I think.
Well, that was the team. No, I mean, that was the team, man. That was where they had him.
Yeah,
everyone had him going.
Yeah. So I would have prioritized that, and then we've already
He was not on the board. He got picked two picks earlier.
did because they traded back, right?
Yeah, they traded back with the Saints. From 11
But
to
yeah,
16.
their original pick, they could have had him though, because he was still on the board when they were on the clock originally.
Mm-hmm.
But they decided to trade back instead, and they lost out on the opportunity to draft him. I think that drafting a guy like him, and then back in the second round, we've already said it a couple times, but those guys that got drafted late in the second round, like Sky Moore, George Pickens, and other guys, I would have rather that been the draft class if I was a Washington fan.
Yeah, and then love absolutely, you know me, I love my Nevada guys. Cole Turner, crazy good value there. They have him slotted as the third tight end. He'll end up being the second one, as the pass catcher. I mean, what 6'5", 6'6", 240, massive frame. He'll get an opportunity. As
Yeah,
the
he very well could be the starter by the end of the season. You already mentioned Logan Thomas's struggles to stay on the field, so
yeah, and
he
they
could
drafted
definitely
John
see
Bates.
significant playing time.
They drafted John Bates last year in the 4th round, so they do like him. He's also 6'6", 259. But Cole Turner, I think, is much better pass catcher than John Bates is. And then they got NBA All-Star Chris Paul in the 7th round. That is literally like the best joke ever. And everyone made it when they drafted him. But he's going to have a tough time finding playing time, considering they signed Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner in the offseason. So he's going to try to have to try to find a way to get into a top 10 role as a backup guard there. And I don't know much about Christian Holmes. So, but yeah, corner was a need, and they didn't do much to fill that need. Other other than getting back Kendall Fuller. That was in 2020. Never mind. But they will get William Jackson back, because he didn't play. He got injured last year, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. He played 12 games, but he missed a good chunk he missed a month, mid-October to mid-November. But he only had 2 picks last year and 8 pass deflections. So he wasn't up to the contract that they signed him to. But yeah, I think quarter was a big need, and they waited. They waited to draft one until their last pick. So they don't have much at corner. Like I said, their depth is very poor.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know what they're going to do there. Hope for no injuries. That's what they're going to do. But your grade for the Commanders draft?
Yeah, like I said, I really didn't like their draft at all for the most part. Howell was my favorite pick, but I mean, you even said it. I mean, I like him enough to name him the heir apparent, but thinking about it, yeah, a 5th round pick, he's not really attached to that title yet. So, I don't know. I would probably give this draft a C minus or a C because I just didn't like it all around.
See, you're a little lower. I actually am giving it a higher grade than the Giants draft. Gave them a C plus. I like a B minus for Washington. Now I questioned the first two selections. But like I said, they did need depth defensively. So Fidarian Mathis was a solid pick in that aspect. Liked the Brian Robinson pick a lot as a legit RB2. Sam Howell is a nice flyer that you can develop at quarterback. And like I said, loved the value for Howell and getting Cole Turner as a potential number one tight end. So that's why with the Giants, I didn't like a lot after the top two picks, but Washington, I did see some guys there and on day 3 and day 2 that I actually liked. So, okay. The Cowboys draft. So round 1, offensive tackle, Tyler Smith out of Tulsa, number 24 overall. Second round, edge rusher, Sam Williams, Ole Miss, number 56. Third round, wide receiver Jalen Tolbert, South Alabama, number 88. Fourth, tight end Jake Ferguson, Wisconsin, number 129. Fifth round, they had 4 fifth-round selections. Offensive tackle Matt Waletzko, North Dakota, number 155. Corner Deron Bland, Fresno State, number 167. Linebacker Damone Clark, LSU, number 176. D-tackle John Ridgeway, Arkansas, number 178. Sixth round linebacker Devin Harper, Oklahoma State, number 193, and they did not have a 7th round pick. So, Tyler Smith was a big need. He's versatile, can play inside, outside. I already know Adam Schefter. Okay. But anyways, Tyler Smith, versatile enough to play inside, outside. And right now it's funny. They actually have the T Smith left side of the line listed on ESPN. Tyron at left tackle, Tyler at left guard. So we might do that. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the jerseys. Because you got T Smith and then you got TY Smith. They're both TY Smith. So I don't know what they're going to TYL Smith and TYR Smith. I don't know what they're going to do. But it's that was a good pick. Kind of a flyer, really. And they hope he can be their future left tackle. I'm interested to see that they have him at guard, though, because I'm surprised they don't have him at right tackle. That was their biggest need, tackle. But they have him at guard right now, so we'll see if that sticks. Sam Williams, I thought was a little bit of a reach at 56. But it's not a bad pick. They needed some help after losing Randy Gregory to the Broncos in free agency. I did not like the Jalen Tolbert selection. I was not a big fan of him anyways. It was good value where they got him in the 3rd round, considering he was getting some 2nd round hype. I just didn't think that was the dude that they needed to fill the Amari Cooper slot. Love Jake Ferguson. They franchise tag Dalton Schultz. So they Blake Jarwin, they released him. So they needed a 2nd tight end. He fills that need. Matt Waletzko is a good flyer as a tackle. Damone Clark, I thought that was a great pick in the 5th round. I mean, that guy could have been a 2nd round pick if he doesn't have to have spinal fusion surgery. This season, at the very least. We'll see. Hopefully he comes back for 2023. But this has worked out. This kind of draft pick has worked out for the Cowboys before. They drafted Jalen Smith. He has been good.
Yep.
From his significant knee injury. Leighton Vander Esch has been good in spurts, but his neck issues have caught up to him. They re-signed him for a 1-year deal. But yeah, I think the Damone Clark thing, draft pick was very good, is nice value for a guy that's not going to play this year. And yeah, John Ridgway, Devin Harper, not too much to say about those two, nor do I have a lot to say about Deron Bland.
Yeah. For me, this was a very non-Cowboys kind of draft to me. And I'm saying that in the best way possible because they actually didn't go out and get any of the big splashy names that they could have gotten in the draft. They just went and kind of filled their needs and got pretty solid players. I mean, you already mentioned the first couple guys there. And yeah, I just think, again, they didn't go out and get like the CeeDee Lamb or the Micah Parsons of the draft like they had the last couple of years. They stuck to the plan of getting what they needed because they didn't technically need. Well, they kind of needed Micah Parsons last year, but they really didn't need CeeDee Lamb 2 years ago when they drafted him. Obviously, now they do. But yeah, so they didn't go out and just draft the best name available or whatever. They went and just stuck to their guns because I don't know how many mock drafts. I didn't see Smith really going in the first round a lot, if at all.
Logan had him.
Well, Logan's a different breed. But yeah, for like all the like NFL network experts or whatever, I don't really remember seeing a lot of Tyler Smith in the first round. So, I mean, it's not nearly as bad as Cole Strange for the Patriots. But still, it might be able to be considered a reach. I don't know. But again, it wasn't the big splashy name that everybody was expecting. Like, I kind of thought that they were going to go out and get Jermaine Johnson with that pick because, like you mentioned, they needed an edge rusher. They needed that kind of help. But they went and addressed that in the second round. But yeah, overall, I did like this draft. There's just not really a name that stands out to me.
Yeah, Tyler Smith, the only starter listed on ESPN's depth chart. I think really that's because they signed some veteran guys. They signed James Washington. He's listed as their third receiver. They also signed Dante Fowler, who is listed as one of the starting DNs opposite DeMarcus Lawrence. So Sam Williams slots behind him. Jalen Tolbert slots in as the fourth receiver right now. The Jalen Tolbert thing, we said this, we look at guys who were still available that they could have had at that spot. There were two receivers that went after Tolbert that I would have liked better. David Bell out of Purdue went to the Browns, and Romeo Dobbs, Nevada, went to the Packers. I liked those guys better than Jalen Tolbert, but the Cowboys picked him instead. Yeah. As much as I said I liked the Damone Clark thing, they still do technically need another linebacker. Now, I think they're banking on the fact that Jabril Cox is going to step up this year as a second-round pick from last season. And if that works out, then it'll be fine. Because they have Devontae Bond as their third linebacker in their base 4-3. So they're hoping that Jabril Cox works out. Other than that, there aren't too many areas that I think are needy. Maybe instead of drafting a second linebacker in Devin Harper or drafting a guy like Deron Bland when they didn't really need a corner, they could have got another running back because We know Zeke has struggled the last 2 seasons. Tony Pollard has been good for them, but they have Rico Dowdle and Jaquan Hardy as their third and fourth guys right now.
I mean, there's still some guys out there too in free agency that they can pick up.
Who,
So
Adrian Peterson?
yeah, him or Todd Gurley. I mean,
Frank Gore.
hell, I mean, even Herschel Walker's been in the news. Maybe he can come out of retirement.
T.O. wants to, so you know.
Switch positions, yeah. No, but yeah, that they're gonna have to address the running back. So if not this year, it's probably gonna have to be next year because Zeke is definitely on the decline.
I was also kind of interested in seeing that quarterback that they didn't take a flyer on any of the later round guys like EJ Perry. He went. Where did
Carson Strong, who didn't get drafted,
right? Who is now a Philadelphia Eagle. The Dolphins took Skylar Thompson. I didn't really like him too much, but EJ Perry was really the one that I was thinking of. You know, he went later in the 7th round, or did he go in the 6th? He went in the 6th, apparently. Where did he go? I'm just looking at this lengthy list of the entire draft. That is what I have to look at. Did EJ Perry get drafted? I thought he did. I thought for sure Perry got drafted.
I think so. I'm not 100%.
Somewhere. He went somewhere. I know that. Maybe it was earlier than I thought. I thought for sure he went in the 6th round, though. 6th or 7th. But anyways, I mean, yes, they do have Cooper Rush still, who they like a lot. And he even won them a couple games. But they have Will Greer.
He went undrafted and signed with the Jaguars.
Okay. I thought for sure he went. Dang. But yeah, I mean, even undrafted, I mean, maybe they do have other quarterbacks. Obviously, ESPN's depth chart only goes to 4. But I would have liked to see him possibly take a chance on a guy to see if they can hit something in the backup. I think you can always upgrade over Cooper Rush. So, yeah. But all in all, I mean, it wasn't terrible. I don't think it was that great, but yeah. Let's see, what do I want to go with here? I think I'm going to go with a B. I mean, it was just kind of like blah. And like there weren't a lot of, like you said, high profile selections. I just wasn't impressed.
Yeah.
But overall, it was decent. It was pretty solid.
Yeah, I have the same kind of stance and view on their draft class. Like we said, there wasn't a name that popped out, but they filled the positions that they needed. And I'm going back and forth between a B- and a B. I think it's like a high B- and like 82, 83%. Like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I'm gonna officially give them a B-, but they're right on the cusp of a B, which would essentially tie them with the Eagles in my book.
Yeah, so I have Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants.
Yeah, our first two are the same, but then I have the Giants first, or Giants third, I should say, and then the Commanders fourth. And my only reason being the first two picks for the Giants, I think, are going to make a big enough impact to not really matter with the rest of the draft. Plus, I like the fact that they got 11 picks.
Alrighty. That is the show for today. Next Monday, it will be birthday Monday for myself. Because I have a golf tournament on my birthday. We'll be at Penn State if any of my Pennsylvania friends want to join me up at Penn State on Monday or Tuesday next week. But yeah, next Monday we'll be back. We'll have USFL Week 8. And actually, you know what, Chris? I forgot. I gotta pick USFL Week 8. That's right. I almost forgot. We got close, but no cigar. I will make my picks right now because talking about it. So on Friday, we have the Maulers and the Generals. 1-6 Maulers versus 6-1 Generals.
That sounds like a trap game to me.
It's not. It's the Generals. Yeah, they're gonna win. They're averaging 165.9 rushing yards per game, and their defense is very good. 16.9 points allowed per game, 74.6 rushing yards allowed. So it's a good run defense versus what wants to be a good run offense. That's what Kirby Wilson wanted to do. Run the ball with Madre London and Garrett Groshek, and they haven't been able to do it. They're averaging only 95.6 rushing yards per game on offense. But I think the biggest factor for me is Pittsburgh. They don't have a quarterback. I mean, Vad Lee and Roland Rivers are absolutely terrible. They're averaging 13.1 points per game this season.
Yeah, no.
So it might be close. Pittsburgh's defense is very good. They've kept them in games. But yeah, Jersey's gonna win. Jersey is 8.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 42.5. I'm hitting the under button. That one, 8 p.m. on USA. My birthday on Saturday. What a game we had that I will not be able to watch because it's at 3:00, and I will be at the tournament at Penn State. So, but anyways, it's the game of the week. Breakers 5-2, Stallions 7-0. Do the Breakers break the Stallions or not? That is the question.
How bad was the first game between the two? Like, I think this was back in week 1, unless they didn't do the same order. But
week 3.
Oh.
22-13.
No, so not terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's close. The thing that I'll say is I think the Breakers have the quarterback advantage. Pending if Kyle Sloter is injured or not.
Mm-hmm.
Even so, I still think Zach Smith could do a good enough job if needed to.
Mm-hmm.
A guy out of Tulsa. All the stats point to Birmingham, though. I mean, they're the highest scoring offense, 26.9. They average more rushing yards. Talk about Bo Scarborough. He's been a revelation for them. Their defense is very good, 17.9 points allowed. They're close on most of the stats. The biggest one is the passing, though. New Orleans by far 215.4 to Birmingham's 173.7.
Huh.
So big disadvantage for Birmingham in the passing game. But I think I want to do it. I think I want to pick the upset. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where like it just seems too good to be true. Like New Orleans seems set up to win this game, but I don't know. Alabama or Birmingham, I should say. Birmingham has had a good, solid start to the season. Obviously, they're undefeated 7-0. They are the only undefeated team, and I think they might. I think they really want it. At least in the regular season, they want to go 10-0. They want to be they want to have the undefeated season in the inaugural season of the league. So I think they're really going to try for it. And I don't know. Right now, New Orleans is the number 2 team in the South, right? And presumably that's who's going to be the matchup for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think New Orleans won't, because I don't think that they have a chance at getting the number 1 seed anyway. And it doesn't really matter at this point anyway, because everybody plays in the same stadium.
Yeah.
So I think number 1 and number 2 doesn't really matter. So I think New Orleans won't give it their all in this game, and they'll just wait to pour it all on in the playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, but what about Birmingham though? I mean, yeah, New Orleans is more than likely gonna be in the playoffs, but Birmingham's already in. They've clinched.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little bit of a let up from the Stallions in the fact that, like you said, the only thing that they're really playing for right now is to be undefeated. So,
and I think that's enough for them to play hard enough to win.
So Chris and I are at opposite ends on this game. Birmingham is a 3.5 point favorite. Over under is 44.5. I am hitting the over button. These are two of the top scoring offenses in the league. Like I said, 29 or 26.9 for the Stallions, 23.9 for New Orleans. So yeah, I like the over in this game. 3 p.m. on Fox. Chris, you'll have to watch it for me because
well, I won't be able to either because my son is being baptized on Saturday, so I'll be at that.
Okay. I got you. It's a good day to get baptized, June 4th. Yep. All right, we got 2 games on Sunday. Again, neither I will be able to watch. I might not be able to watch any USFL this weekend, considering we're doing a night setup on Friday. So I'll be able to catch that game later on, maybe the second half of that game on Friday. But at that point, it'll be over. Anyways, but yeah, the Sunday games I won't be able to watch either. 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. The 4 p.m. one I might have been able to catch the end, but it's on Peacock, so yeah, I can't watch those ones.
Nope.
But anyways, on Sunday we got 1-6 Panthers against the 4-3 Stars. Yeah, I like Philly. Case Cookus has done enough for them to keep them in games and win games in the absence of Brian Scott. And Josh Love did not look good at all in his first start as a Michigan Panther. So I'm going to go with them. Michigan's defense is pretty good, but I think the Panthers offense won't be able to score now.
Yeah. Plus the Stars are still playing for that playoff spot.
Technically.
Yeah. I mean, I know you said it at the beginning of the show that they're still mathematically in it, but not really. But I mean,
no,
they aren't.
The Stars are in. The Stars are going to be in. They're the second team in the North.
Then who was? Oh, it wasn't them. It was
the Bandits.
Yeah. So anyway, either way though. Yeah, the Stars, third. Yeah, they are the second team, but I don't think they're going to take their foot off the gas either because they need to stay on par with the Generals. And yeah, so as much as I want to go for the Panthers and root for them because, like I had mentioned earlier, the guy Ryan O'Malley from my hometown is on the Panthers, but they just aren't a good team.
I do expect Reggie Corbin to have another great day on the ground. The Philly defense is allowing 163 rushing yards per game. So Corbin should have a nice day. The Stars offensively running the ball are not good either. 96.1 rushing yards a game. And the Panthers put up 161.6 on the ground on offense. So they should be fine there. I don't expect the pass defense deficiency to be there for the Stars. They allow 185.9 passing yards per game. Like I said, Josh Love was not that great in his first start with Michigan. I expect it to be the same this game. But yeah, I think the Stars win. It's a closer one than people think. The Panthers probably cover the spread like they did last week. But I think Philly ultimately wins, and they clinch that second spot in the North. Because that's what when I was talking about the Bandits, you could have went the opposite. Talk about the Panthers. Panthers are in the same situation as the Bandits are. Panthers 3 games out of Philly. They need to win out, need Philly to lose out, and they need to win this game as a head-to-head because Michigan's only win came in week 3 against the Maulers. So they don't have a head-to-head against the Stars. They lost by 1 point in week 4. And I believe that was the 21-yard missed field goal. That was the 21-yard missed field goal. Yeah. And then that one, Philly is a 6-point favorite, so I like the odds for Michigan to cover there.
Mm-hmm.
And then over under is 47.5, though. 47.5. I mean, Philly can score.
Yeah, based on the way things have gone, despite these two teams and all that, I don't know. I know that there's been a couple games that have gone over that, but I don't know if I'd do it.
Yeah, under. Last game, Gamblers 1-6 against the Bandits 3-4. The Michigan Philly game 12 p.m. on Fox. Gamblers, Bandits though. Yeah. You have to keep picking against Houston. I mean, they can't win in the fourth quarter. They've lost 6 straight games. I mean, they literally cannot hold a lead in the fourth quarter. So it's fine. Tampa's defense is pretty good. Houston's is not. Houston's allowing 226.6 passing yards per game. So I expect Jordan Ta'amu to have a nice day. Neither team is good at running the ball. Both under 100 yards rushing per game. So, yeah, I think Ta'amu is the difference in this game. And the Gamblers lose their 7th straight by losing another fourth quarter lead.
Oh, yeah.
Tampa's 5.5-point favorites. Over under is 44.5. I'm going over on that one. 4 p.m. on Peacock. So now it's the end of the show. The end of the show, part 2. But yeah, we'll be back recapping USFL Week 8, previewing Week 9 next Monday, and we will continue our 8th round series with the NFC South's draft recap Panthers, Bucks, Saints, and the Atlanta Falcons. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Thank you, Chris. Hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend, got the American flag background.
Yep.
And we'll see you all back